are here today one more time to the Nights of Transformation, how you are going to be able to transform your organizations and or even for that matter, your team's relationships and businesses through psychology. And oh my gosh, Kevin's camera is working. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Kevin, okay, is kind of like Indiana Jones. Right? Now, if you actually think about this, all right, so let's look at Indiana Jones. First of all, he's a professor, by day, and he's got all this stuff. He's really smart. He's doing things. Well, in Kevin's case, I mean, he is a consultant, a trainer. He's working for, massive organizations in development of systems and technology in order for them to excel. But behind the scenes, Kevin is also an adventurer and a guy who, basically does a lot of crazy shit. Okay. And so we're going to go through today. We're going to do some stuff. We're going to talk about some of Kevin's adventures and how he has learned better leadership and better transformation through some of his adventures. Welcome, Kevin.
Arthur, always great to see you. Thanks a lot for the introduction. You were spot on. Spot on. But I'm sitting comfortably at my home today, having a great time with you. So hope's all well on your side and everybody else's side.
Everything is awesome here. And so now, are you in Malaysia or are you back in South Africa?
No, I'm in Malaysia, Arthur. I travel remotely now, Zoom-wise, between South Africa and that's all I can do.
It's a lot faster, isn't it?
It's a lot faster and it's a hell of a lot cheaper. I'm just missing my family. But anyway, I'm scheduled to go out next month. We've landed a nice big contract there with one of the mining companies. So I have to go. I've been double vaccinated and I'm licensed, whatever you call it. So I need to get back to South Africa.
Well, fantastic. Looking forward to seeing you there sometime. Okay. So tell us, okay, how, you've got you've got a whole, very colorful life, but there's one story, okay, that kind of stands out in your mind where you almost died, in fact. Okay. So give us a little bit of, so tell us a little bit about this story and the insights you gained from it.
Okay. Great stuff. So, Arthur, was an interesting one. I'm an avid mountain climber, and I've climbed in the Himalayas. I've climbed all over the world. And I was sort of in awe when the 1996 Everest calamity. So, the guy summited, Rob Hall died, Scott Fisher died up there. I knew two of the South African climbers well, attended all of their debriefing sessions and all of those wonderful things. And so I attempted Mount Kilimanjaro in 2004. And got to the top relatively easy. It was very tough. No matter what anybody says, it was really tough. However, on my way to the top, now this is where the interesting thing comes in. I was with my co-workers and all of those things. I don't want to show any weakness. You're a leader of a company. I was a director and MD. And I was starting to feel very sick and I wasn't feeling well and, all of those things. Anyway, I worked through it, summited. Got back down again, and 3 days afterwards, I remember I couldn't even think straight, and I must have had altitude sickness. But anyway, got through it. Was nice and tough and strong. Great leadership style, and whatever the case may be. And then in 2014, we decided to go up again. But this time, I took my family up, my wife and my kid, and his wife, and we took my dad's ashes up to the top. And guess what happened? Almost died up there. So on the summit day, halfway up to the summit, I collapsed, and a blood clot had gone through my lung, and they can kill you quickly.
Wow.
So I said to the porter that was with us, and I could see the oxygen bottle on his backpack, and I said to him, "Give me the oxygen bottle. I need oxygen," because I've been in high altitude before. So he grabs the bottle out and he gives it to me. And he gives it to me and I can't even breathe. But anyway, so now I've got this oxygen bottle and there's no attachment and no mask. They forgot to pack it. Okay, so all right. So now I'm the leader of my team. This is now the second time. Anyway, I say to my team, carry on. I'll get down. I said to the one guy that was with me, the oxygen bottle, I said, get down with me. But anyway, my wife decided not to leave me and she came down with me. She broke her ankle. Anyway, so we got down to high camp. We tried to get a chopper to come and get us off. And I managed to get out of there alive. So I took this and I thought to myself, okay, how do I apply this back to my teachings? And I incorporated the 1996 Everest calamity and what I went through from a leadership perspective. And it was quite interesting. So I took this great mate of mine, Arthur Kamazi, and he's got, there we go, he's got something called colored brain and emotional drives. And I've just developed a very, very clever program on cognitive bias. Okay, so just to give you a quick recap, the Project Management Institute, I'm a PMP instructor, train all around the world, well, virtually now. And the new project management body of knowledge has brought the people aspect into the examination content outline at 42%. So it's a lot higher than what it used to be. And in the examination, they talk about emotional intelligence, personality profiles. I've replaced that with the colored brain profiling anyway, because I prefer that 100%. What I did in my research, I said, well, we need to bring something different to this training because everybody's training technical project management and so forth. I said, okay, well, the fact that we bring in all of the strong leadership component, let me take Arthur's great stuff. Let me take some of the research that I've done and some of the experience that I had and let me put it into a pop-up course. So what I've got is pop-up courses, 4-hour sessions. Okay. And in my first pop-up course, the course is called Summit Fever. All right. Okay. And what I did is I looted my team and obviously the research I did on Everest. And I said, how does this impact leadership in terms of decision making? Because as leaders, we make decisions. That's our job, really, in my opinion. We've got to get the correct data so that we can make decisions. That's how I believe my life has been or is at work anyway. Based on my research and my understanding with your stuff, and I've been trained on it, is number one, cognitive bias. And the cognitive bias, the way that I see it, is made up of 3 areas. Number one is sunk cost bias. Now, I'm a green brain. All of you watching, I'm a green brain. I'm out there. I'm shaping my mind all the time. So guess what happens to me? So we're going up Kilimanjaro. I've paid for 4 people. I'm not feeling well. I didn't feel well the last time. But in my mind, my thought process says, I can't throw that money away. And I can't tell everybody to get back down again. So my thinking was total sunk cost. I have to get up there, at whatever expense. So if you look at Rob Hall and Scott Fisher and the guys on Everest in 96, exactly the same thing happened to them. They're the leaders of those teams, and they broke every single rule themselves. Okay. So I broke that rule as well. I should have stopped. I should have at least come down and let my team go up. The second issue that I had was the over-bias or overconfidence bias. I'm a mountaineer. I'm a leader of a business. I can never fail. You know what I'm saying? So again,
and you're very modest and have no ego.
We'll talk about the emotional drives as well. Achievement and recognition. Come on, we can't fail. I mean, we got iron armor on us. So that overconfidence bias came through very strongly. So on my instance, on Kilimanjaro, I climbed all over the world. I've climbed higher than 6,000 meters. Man, I'm invincible. And guess what happened? I got nailed on Kilimanjaro at 5,200 meters. If you look at Rob Hall and Scott Fisher on Everest, exactly the same thing as well. I mean, Rob Hall said to the guys that, and Scott Fisher said, we've built a yellow brick road up to the top of Everest. And they had a law that said if we don't make the summit at 2:00, we all turn back. And what did they do? 2:00 came, their clients weren't up there. There was this competition. They as leaders made the decision to go up past the 2:00 time. So from a leadership perspective, when we set these, let's call it our rules or the direction that we set our business, I think we should keep by our promises of what we've set as well. And it's very easy to break those rules. And when people see you breaking rules, the psychological safety goes down the drain. Because, how safe do they feel if their leaders actually breaking the rule that has been set, or that condition that has been set. The third issue that I had, and I think that leaders have as well, is the recency effect, or the recency bias. And that's taking data. And we all do this. We got masses of data coming at us all the time. And we've got to make decisions.
Now.
I mean, big time, all the time. And if we get incorrect data, we're making, obviously, decisions on incorrect data. But also, we start believing data that we see. Now, on Kilimanjaro, the previous time in 2004, I summited at nighttime. It was minus 20 degrees up there. The wind was bad. It was horrible. And I managed to get up there. The second time I went up, I convinced our lead porter, let's do it in the day. So I wouldn't have to get so cold. All right. And that decision was made on information that I've got. It's a lot warmer in the day when you go up, and it's a lot safer and all of those good things. The one thing that I didn't take into account as a leader, because I mean, we should be seeing these things, is when you climb in a mountain in the day, you can see where you're going. And it was frightful to see where we were actually going. All right. So if you look at Rob Hall and Scott Fisher as well, they for the 5 years before they both died up there, the weather was really great. They didn't recognize the signs around them, the wind speeds that were coming. They weren't watching the weather patterns and all of these things. They weren't watching the stuff. Why? Because it hadn't happened to them before. They got relaxed. And as leaders, we sometimes have we don't have all the correct information, but we also believe in the information that we've created ourselves. And we almost get a false sense of security in terms of how we make our decisions. So my lesson out of this is make decisions on clear, concise information. Okay. Any questions yet, Arthur, before I jump over to the next session?
And that guy brings us down to the emotional foundation, right? I mean, so breaking rules is, oh yeah, well, I made that rule, but we can still do it because we have the experience. And so you're relying on something that worked under different circumstances, but you're applying it to the same thing. And this is where, again, I mean, even if it's not a death type circumstance, it can definitely affect how people in general are going to deal with it. So, I mean, for example, even technology is a new thing. It's like, oh, well, 10 years ago, this was working, and so it should work now. And now it's different, right? I mean, it's the same thing with organizational culture change, right? Yeah. So a lot of people are still using the old McKinsey model, bottom or from the top down, right? Yeah. Because it used to work. It was the only way it could really work before, because, I mean, people would just kind of, oh, okay, the boss and everything else. But even then it would take like 5 or 6 years to implement.
Sure.
Okay. And now, we've got technology. Everybody's got power in the palm of their hand for their emotional gratification. So if they're not getting it from their jobs, hey, it's okay. I can go on LinkedIn, I'll get a new job. Okay, sure. I'll do this. I'll whatever. I mean, so now they feel people are not as tied to something as they used to be, and so the whole process of really achieving change is different. The amount of time it takes is different. The amount of time that is required for people to buy in is different. Before, eventually, I mean, people would complain and whine for a while. I mean, eventually it's like, okay, we'll just keep it up and it'll work. But now it's like, oh, we're not seeing anything in 2 weeks. This must be all bullshit. And, you're just wasting our time and we're not going to do it. And so then it dies because there's no buy-in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. And one thing that I've realized, I mean, as an owner of a business, is that psychological safety for teams. It's different now. When I was started in business 30 years ago, whatever, everybody lists, like you say, in that hierarchical stack. It's not like that anymore. The teams that work with me now, and I mean, even when I was on Kilimanjaro, is quick, spontaneous, accurate information, and allow me to make decisions with you. Listen to me. I also want to add value. I want to be part of this process. The culture needs to accept me as such, or the autonomy, all those good things. So, and you're 100% correct. The whole world of business has changed for the good.
And we've got
For the good.
pandemic now too, right? So now, what was last year, or was 2019, is now there's so many different factors that need to be considered because of a pandemic normal that has been created. And even that is now changing back into something different, not exactly like it was before.
Yeah. Now, Arthur, interesting one, and I'll touch on the other stuff that in terms of research and the courses that we've put together as well. I'm speaking to clients now. Okay, we're not doing my clients now, very hierarchical. They've all changed, all of them, because they had to change. That change was pushed onto them. COVID-19, the digitalization strategies that they all had in place or whatever, is like, we'll get there. And the older folk were saying, no, it doesn't make sense now. They have to do it like this. And they're all saving money. So put COVID aside. The way the teams are working now, the way that the teams are interacting with each other, the amount of work that's been done is a hell of a lot more than what it was before. And I'm hearing this from my clients, not what I've interpreted or made up, and I can see it with my teams as well. And the thing is, it's saving us a lot of money. It's making us become a lot more efficient as well. And let's call it the older folk or the older generation, call it whatever you want to. They've changed very quickly as well for the better. Well, as I said, put COVID aside.
Not all. There's still some people that are holding on.
No, you're right. And those that I know are like sort of, they're pushing that retirement age a little bit faster and whatever because they're allowed to. No, you're right.
It's the same thing. Kodak, Nokia. No, we're the world leaders. We got to hold on and be steadfast.
We'll never go digital. Never happen. Yeah, no, for sure. You're 100% correct. So in terms of the experience that I had on the mountains or whatever the case may be, and the program that we've put together. So the way that we've constructed the program is, and I'm looking at PMI's view. So in module 4, chapter 4, they talk about emotional intelligence and personality profiling, and as part of the examination content outline. So what I did is I said, okay, nobody can be prescriptive anyway. We choose what we want. So part of the construction of the course, the way it's been set up, we do colored brain profiles with everybody. Okay, personality profiles have their place, but I'm not interested in that at all. It doesn't work for me. Let's put it that way. And then I brought the emotional drive into it, absolutely. And then the cognitive bias, the psychological safety as part of the program. And we've got an Everest simulation. So right at the end of the program, based on everything that we've gone through, we actually climb Everest via a simulator. And then we do the debriefing afterwards and so forth, which works very well. Now, what we've done in the program, we've taken my experience on the mountains, Rob Hall and Scott Fisher's. We've taken the sunk cost effect, the recency effect, and the overconfidence bias, and we mapped them to the emotional drives. And it was quite interesting. I've got it in front of me. Was one of my slides. And if you look at that sunk cost effect, what's the emotional drive? Well, you tell me, you're the expert. I'm the leader, and I'm taking those guys up there. I know that they could possibly die and that I could possibly die. But I'm pushing because I don't want them to lose the money, and I don't want to lose, let's call it the reputation, like Rob Hall and Scott Fisher. Let's have the discussion. What emotional drive would be driving those two guys, Arthur, in your opinion?
Right. In that particular case, it is not likely achievement. It's definitely going to be significance, because the achievement, correct. Hey, it's like, well, we've done this all, before, something like that. But it's definitely the significance.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And again, is if we look at business and we look at what happened there, that the recognition and significance is from both parties, not only the leaders but also from the team. They didn't want to fail neither. Plus, they spent a hell of a lot of money. You're talking between 40,000 and 100,000 US. Okay, so I look at the love and belonging and the security and all of those, and that all fell away. The only thing that was important for those guys was achievement. And sometimes for us as well, running projects and running businesses, whatever, my focus a lot of times is that achievement, because that is so important from a reputational perspective.
Oh, yeah.
I just cannot fail.
okay, recognition and significance, okay, not achievement, because the achievement element can be done, I finished, I've at least got to base camp or something, right? Okay, so I've achieved this, but really ultimately, because you can get achievement from, washing your countertop in your kitchen. Finally it's clean.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not about the how great your achievement is. Literally, I mean, the primary motivator in this case, number one is there is a certain level of security where they don't want to lose, right? Their money, and then there's the significance of, if I quit, I'm going to look less than I possibly am. So the achievement element is like, well, yeah. I mean, the achievement is definitely there when I do it, but really the reason I keep going is because of the significance and the recognition.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And like I said, on both sides, and in business, I tend to see it happening quite a lot as well. And I'm talking about the project management world, or some decisions that we make. Or sometimes it's better to can what you're doing, stop it, okay, reshape, reorganize, and then pick up and cut your losses and move on. That sunk cost, we've put so much into it and we spend so much money on this digitization strategy, but actually you're on legacy systems or whatever. Well, cut it as a leader, take the knock on the chin and move on and change strategy and move ahead. And your team needs to be able to move with you. So that's one. The other, the overconfidence bias. Now, I had it on Kilimanjaro. I sometimes have it in my business as well. And Scott Fisher and Rob Hall had, that issue as well. And what we put in our notes, that overconfidence, I related it from the emotional drive perspective to excellence and to achievement. Now, let's chat about that. Do you have the same view? It's like going, listen, I've done this so many times before. I will not fail. I am the best at what I am doing. You can't break me. I've run 5 businesses around the world. I can't break. I'm so overconfident. In terms of emotional drive, how could that be detrimental to an individual? Arthur, well, let's have the chat.
All right. Well, I mean, number one, I mean, again, that brings us back to what you did before. And actually, Marshall Goldsmith wrote a book, What Got You There Won't got you here won't get you there. Yeah, basically the same thing. And I mean, just taking that statement into account is huge, because I mean, things are changing so quickly, and we're in the pandemic, and and prior to that, even things were changing, and now things are way changing. You've got so many new technologies that are coming up that are changing the world. There's the human factors that are, in some cases better, in some cases worse because of the pandemic. So you've got all this stuff that's going on. You've got different perspectives on what's going to happen when the pandemic's going to be over, when we're going to be able to go places and do things like normal, and then I mean, there's literally, I mean, everybody, people from it'll take 6 more months to 4 more years, right? So everybody's got different ideas, but the thing is that, again, like you said, that confidence comes from something in the past, and on an emotional drive level, that confidence also comes from a sense of secure recognition and significance, because you're still feeling like, I know what I'm doing because I have done it before. Listen to me. I'm the expert. The other factor that also goes into play is a sense of security, right? I've done it before, therefore I know what I've done, so therefore I should continue with that because I am secure in what I've done. I know I have that experience. And so
and feel safe. You feel safe.
It creates a false sense of security. And that's where, again, the data is necessary.
Absolutely, and that's the third thing, the recency bias, or the recency factor, is based on data. I scratch my head at this point in time, and we don't want to flog COVID to death. I still don't believe the numbers, the data that we're getting, because are just so confused at this point in time. So number one, let's not go into the analysis of the data. So it's quite difficult to make those decisions. And then number two, and exactly what you're saying, I mean, the speed that things are moving at this point in time. We have to make decisions based on that data. So be it climbing Everest, climbing Kilimanjaro and almost dying and whatever, we're just absorbing so much data to make those decisions. Now, my thought process at this point in time is, and I'm talking specifically from a strategy perspective, and I was in South Africa in February this year. I was in South Africa and I facilitated a strategy session with a large mining concern. And one of the things that came out as a tactic, was an action plan, was they're going to, with us, review their strategy every 3 months. Not once a year anymore. Every 3 months, because the horizon is changing so fast and more information is coming at them so fast that you can't wait for a year anymore. So no matter how much information you've got and where the information's coming from, as leaders, we need to stop. We need to look at that data, analyze that data, trust the data, and then move forward. And no longer than 3 months from a strategy perspective. Your view on that, Arthur?
Right. Well, I mean, okay. First of all, let's just look at data in itself. If we do a lot of Facebook ads, okay, the data that we get from Facebook ads and the data that we get from the measurement on our own websites and those are totally different. So there's some screwy stuff going on there.
For sure.
Right?
I know, especially when they paid ads. I know what you're saying.
Okay. So we don't know. So which data is correct? I mean, and trying to get like that, the accurate data is, I mean, sometimes it's close enough. But ultimately, I mean, you're going to have to find credible sources of data.
Correct.
Okay. And just because, this is the data that we've been getting. And again, that goes back to your other one. I'm confident that this is where that this data is great. Well, maybe it used to be, maybe it never was, but you just thought it was. Right. So sometimes, I mean, getting clarity on where the data comes from and why it's accurate. And also sometimes you're making decisions based on data that is completely irrelevant.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right.
Or there's just too much data coming at us.
Exactly. And then, and people try to think, and sometimes overthinking is going to create more problems, because then you can't make a decision. I need to make a decision after I get the data, and you don't have the data. And then you don't make a decision, and because decisions are made, things stand still, and that causes more costs, more problems, and more lack of engagement than anything else. Sometimes it's okay to make a mistake, just to keep things moving.
And 100%. You look at Malcolm Gladwell, Blink. The book says it very, very clearly that you got to make your decision. I think it was 93% or whatever of the decisions you make. If you procrastinate, you would have made that decision anyway. I mean, we all run businesses, don't we?
Yeah.
And I've learned. Well, listen, I'm green-brained, so I will make decisions fast.
Right.
I need my purples and reds and blues to help me along, or whatever the case may be. But I think we've been relatively successful because, we're willing to take the risky decision. Might not always be based on the best data. But like you say, if you don't make that decision, you're going to go nowhere. And if it's the wrong decision... And
you don't know if you're wrong until you try it.
Fail fast, but stand up fast. That's the new agile world of project management. We must be able to make mistakes. It's fine to make mistakes. Mistakes ain't a bad thing. As long as we fail fast and we recover fast, that's the key. So sometimes we fail fast, that's cool. It takes a hell of a long time to recover. We've got to be able to recover fast. And then surrounding ourselves with the right people as well. I think that's what's important.
Yeah, and vigilance is important. I mean, okay, let's just look at, any type of construction, because, we're building Avalon and stuff, right?
Yes,
so you say, hey, why don't you to build it like this and yada, 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 and you go, And I'm telling you, I mean, just, within one day, these people can do a lot of stuff, right? So you get win one day, wow, this is already done. Now, if you don't go and actually check things that are going on, like at least every couple of hours, okay, by the time the day is over, it could be wrong and you don't know.
Yeah.
So if your decision was wrong in the first place, finding out, hey, this actually maybe it wasn't such a good idea. And as they're building it, it's like, wait a minute, oh, that might not work. So catch them before they finish, because that's going to be a lot easier to fix, right? Than finishing it and then going and breaking it and starting over, which again, cost overruns and all kinds of things. So being vigilant in the process of your decisions, which is going to give you the instant feedback on what on whether you're going to be successful or not.
Absolutely. In the course, I mean, the program we've developed is very much influenced by Arthur Kumasi. What we brought in as well, I'm being serious. I mean, so it's just the way that it is the complex systems theory as well. And it's exactly what you're saying. If you don't understand the complexities that lie within the system and you're not vigilant, you're going to miss things, and then you're going to get into, call it the lean approach. You're going to be wasting time. And when people see that as leaders, they start losing trust in you. That's where their psychological safety goes down the drain. And as leaders, that's what we need to be providing is the psychological safety, especially now during these times. We need to understand the emotional drives. We need to understand where they're coming from. And as leaders, that is our job now, is to ensure that psychological safety. Because if we're not looking after it, then we're not we should not be in leadership positions in the first place.
Completely agree with you.
Totally. So what's interesting, Arthur, we're talking about technology and all of these wonderful things. We're doing some work for a client. You're talking about the vigilance and the data, whatever. Drone, well, I'm not going to call it drone technology. That's already there. But drones are becoming the big thing now. All of the work that we're doing, the guys are flying drones 24/7 over all of the construction sites, the project management sites, everywhere, getting that live data feed every second so that they can make decisions.
Sounds like a movie, man.
But again, we talk about technology. So we have to adapt to that very, very quickly.
Absolutely, that's cool. It's cool.
We already know at 12 at night we must watch that piece. So we actually set the program, and it brings through those, because we know that's when specific things are happening.
Just don't call your system Skynet.
Why was there is that not a television thing? I don't know. Okay. But it's so interesting. Some of the work that we do in underground. I don't want to use the words humanless mining, but it's safe mining. Let's call it that way. A lot of the mining that's happening now is using 40% less human interface that we used before. And again, as the entire workforce is now different. Just coming back to fundamental decision making. I mean, what we've just been talking about. We've got to have the right data, and sometimes we don't have the data. We still need to make those decisions as a leader anyway. We just got to be very cautious of overconfidence. I think confidence is great, but overconfidence can burn you, and you can be lucky sometimes. And then their thinking process, and the colored brain is really great, because that allows us to understand how we think, how we process things. And that's why, I'm using colored brain and the emotional drives and the cultural assessments and everything across the work that we're doing. Now, obviously, we're pushing a lot harder. COVID has really slowed us down on everything from that perspective. We're lucky on our software development side of the business is going well, but we're going to be pushing it a lot harder, out into our world of influence and so forth. So it's exciting times ahead. I think we're coming out of this COVID thing. I think we're just going to learn how to live with it. It's going to be endemic, and I think we just need to move on. But I think the world has changed drastically, and we're going to have to do things differently. Big time.
So, Kevin, we're out of time here. Any last thoughts, before we go?
Just last thing is with the the new project management body of knowledge, you know, we project guys, is empathy and servant leadership. And I think that's something that every single leader, no matter what position you're in, CEO, or you're leading a team, or whatever the case may be, we've got to get our mindset sorted around empathizing. Simon Sinek, I mean, obviously, if you listen to what he says, and I agree with him 100%. But then also the servant leadership. We, as leaders, we've got to learn. And for some of us, it's very, very difficult. I had a talk the other day, and I said, that's all really great. My opinion is situational leadership plays the biggest role, because you can't always be the servant leader. Sometimes you need to be directional, especially.
Well, there's also the foundation of, the DC ideal leadership identity based on a person's culture.
Yep.
And a person's basically psychological makeup. So you can, like what will work in one environment may not work in another.
Yes.
And, finding your own ideal leadership identity is going to be, is going to be much more useful than trying to be something that you're not.
So absolutely. So you got to be able to balance it. What I'm seeing coming through, and I'm exercising at the moment, is to, found a lot more on the servant leadership thing. Only I can caution is be careful, because people take you for a ride around it as well. I'm being serious. So what you're saying is 100% correct. I mean, you can be so nice all the time and empathize and serve and whatever. But sometimes people take it for granted, and they take you for a ride. So those are my last words. We can empathize and be as great as we want to from a servant leadership perspective, but there's also jobs to get done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's my last words, Arthur. So we've got a lot of chugging along to do. But I think if we have the right leadership mindset and willing to take risks and willing to listen to people and have open debates and understand the colored brain and emotional drives and all the stuff that's around us, we can just be better leaders and people.
And so if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Kevin, how do they get a hold of you?
Very easy. Though they've got to remember my surname. Just go to I've got a personal website. It's www.kevininfeld.com.
Maybe you can spell Intveld, because we're doing audio, right? So
so it's Kevin, the normal Kevin Costner, okay, and then Infeld, I for igloo, N for Nelly, T for Tango, V for Victory, E for Echo, L for Lima, and D for Donkey.com. So www.kevininfeld.com. It's my personal website. Got a lot of videos with you there, Arthur and Lily, and some really cool stuff there.
Great, fantastic. All right, Kevin, it was super fun to have you, and I'm sure we'll be having you again. And so This is Arthur Gormalzi, and you're supposed to say your name.
Kevin Infeld, and thank you, Arthur, my great man. Always nice chatting, eh?
And we're wishing you great success.
Okay, be safe all. Thanks, Arthur. Appreciate it.